Hey, welcome to this video on the simple nutrition system, and I'm going to dive straight in and show you everything you need to know to start making progress straight away from day one so that you can make it week after week consistently with the most simple way you could possibly eat, a way that manages your frustrations, manages hunger, allows you to eat a lot, allows you to get loads done, and allows you to have loads of energy. It pretty much allows you to basically just become the absolute boss that you want to be and look and feel amazing too. So before we go into that, I just want to talk through the 8 main problems when it comes to conventional diets. And what I mean by this is you've got so many different options out there, so many different ways to look at food, and everyone's always bouncing from diet to diet. So first of all, before we go any further, I just want you to understand that this is not a diet, okay? Your diet is what you eat on a day-to-day basis, okay? And the contents of that is the nutrition. So don't say that you're going to be starting a diet, okay? Just say that you're going to be changing your nutrition. If you associate what you're doing as being a diet, you're also giving it negative connotations as well, because that's always going to make it seem like it's a short-term fix. But this is absolutely long-term. I've done this for a long time, and it's fantastic. You can use it to lose weight, you can use it to gain weight, you can use it to become fitter, you can use it to become stronger. You can do everything you want with this system. You just manage it relative to your goals. And in this one here, we're going to specifically talk about using it for weight loss. So, first of all, the 8 main problems when it comes to conventional diets are the fact that there is a distinct lack of structure with a lot of it. And I don't mean that in the sense of, having things like breakfast, lunch, and dinner and things like that. What I mean is, where's it going? What is it actually achieving for you? And so I'm going to run through the nitty gritty and the sexier stuff that's really going to get the juices flowing and give you a better understanding of why we do things the way that we do now. Second of all, the other problem is constant hunger. Okay, and this ties in nicely with the next one, which is that it becomes a habit. Okay, so your eating becomes a habit. It's not something that you do because you feel like you're hungry. It's just because it's habit-based eating. So if you're one of those that eats a lot of the time and is, constantly under this mindset and assumption that, to keep your metabolism in air quotes fired up, you need to be eating every 2 to 3 hours, like it's not the case. And what actually it does is it creates a bad relationship with food. And through that, it then creates a lack of consistency because it's difficult to follow, it's too in depth, it's just too awkward. And then from that, you get all this guilt, you get all this hatred, you get all this feeling like you haven't got the calories left that you need to have for the day. So it's always guilty snacking on the nighttime, perhaps if you're one of those, a nighttime snacker. I know personally, I love a good nighttime snack if I don't do things the way that I'm going to show you now. And then the next one is most people don't like either breakfast, and then they'll say that that's a complaint. The first time I speak to someone and say, well, I know that I should be having breakfast. Actually, no, you don't. You don't need to be having breakfast. It's not necessary, okay? The first meal that you have in the day is breakfast. Breakfast, if you break it down, is breaking the fast. So the first meal you have of the day is breakfast, regardless of what time of day you have it. Or if you're one of those that doesn't really like to eat that late, then again, if you're on something that's, saying that you need to be eating every 2 to 3 hours, what happens next? Do you just keep eating all the way through into the night? Like, there isn't enough information there. There isn't enough guidance for it. And because of all of this regular feeding, so doing the every 2 to 3 hours thing, it's just unsustainable. For a man like you or a woman like you and me, and it's just not going to fit. It's not going to work. If you've got kids and you've got a job and you're busy and you're always on your feet, how are you going to be able to, have all these meals every 2 hours? It's just crazy. It doesn't make sense. So instead, what we have is we have the solution. We have a solution, okay, where we can create a structure that fits around your life. We have a solution in the sense that we can use a specific way of eating that uses your hormones, okay, so your hormones themselves, okay, which lead on to the mental aspects of it, to combat hunger signals, so you won't feel hungry, which is just fantastic. Imagine being able to lose weight consistently and not be hungry. Next of all, it's removing the time-based habits and replacing it with sustenance. So instead of doing the regular eating every 2 to 3 hours, instead we eat at times that we know that we can eat in, and when we're eating in those times, we know we're going to be full. And just like I've said then, we remove any need for guilty snacking because, frankly, you're just going to be having bigger, more nutrient-dense meals. So it's not going to be tiny meals throughout the day. It doesn't. You'll see the trend here. It doesn't really work for many people, and if it does work for you, you're the exception. You're not the rule. It really doesn't work for many people. It's not sustainable for their lives. Then we don't have to eat at set times that we don't like, enjoy, or need. So we don't need to have breakfast if we don't want breakfast. We don't have to eat late at night if we don't want to do that. We can spread out meals a little bit more, but keep it within a time frame. And then with all this, we can't eat when it does suit us. So if we can eat when it suits us best, then isn't that the dream? Because we're going to be eating more than we assume we need to. We're going to get more nutrients than we need to. We're going to be less hungry than we assume that we should be. And we're eating when it suits us. It's not when social convention says that we should be eating, or it's not about doing it every couple of hours. It's eating when it suits you best. And I'm going to talk through all of this in this video here. So in order to do all of this, we need to make sure that we make hormones work better for us, okay? Rather than being dictated by the hormones, instead we want hormones to work for us. And the main hormone that's going to be at play with all of this is insulin. And so you'll see this little graph that I've got on the screen, or image I suppose you'll call it, is our insulin response to regular meals. So let's say on the left hand side you've got 8 o'clock in the morning, for example, and then you're there eating every 2 hours, every 2 to 3 hours. What happens is every time you eat, your insulin goes way up, okay, and then that yellow line there, that's where you're at, where you're just chilling, you're all good there. So your insulin level is just going to go way up, okay? This is the equivalent to like a sugar high, and you can get this from pretty much all foods. All foods can break down into glucose within the body. All right, so you'll get this insulin response. Depending on what you eat, it'll be less or more severe. Shortly after you've ate your food, you'll just crash, okay? So you'll drop down below the point where your body's content, past homeostasis it's called, okay? And then your insulin levels are going to be low, okay? So they say that's blood sugar. Then you're going to eat in another couple of hours and you're going to go up, and then again you're going to crash back down below that level. And you'll see this repeats all throughout the day. So imagine there's sort of 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2, 4, and 6 p.m. Every day you're eating like this. You have these huge spikes in insulin, and then you have these, crashes in your insulin response as well, which is not going to do you any favors. And it's also going to create, if you imagine this is like a rhythm, and you can do this little trick on yourself if you want as well. As if you're used to eating every couple of hours, I guarantee subconsciously before it gets to the time that you should be eating, you'll get hungry. And you can look at the clock and be like, oh, well, I should be eating in half an hour. So if you eat every 2-3 hours, your body will basically create its own internal clock to make you want to eat every 2 to 3 hours. However, if you remove half of those meals and you started eating every 4 to 6 hours, your body clock will eventually adjust to that. Hunger signals will adapt, insulin responses will change, and then you'll only get hungry every 5.5 hours in time for your 6-hour meal. So huge changes there, and it's all down to hormones, and the main one here is insulin. So what if we can change this with the simple nutrition system? By simply flatlining it, and then as we go into it, we have a steadier rise in our insulin response, and then a much smoother curve rather than a great big drop, okay? And then we do another where we have our second meal, and then we go back into a much smoother flow. And you can totally see the difference here. So on the top, you've got regular eating every couple of hours, and you can see you got that spike and then the crash and then the spike and then the crash. Then with the insulin response from the simple nutrition system, you've got a massive flat line where your body's just absolutely fine. And then we stay pretty close to that homeostasis line. We have a couple of spikes in insulin, which we use to our benefit, and then we continue on with our day. So how does this actually work? Well, we need to do something called time-based eating periods. Okay, so we have periods where we eat, okay, and within this period, that's when we consume all of our calories, okay? Hugely important, and it's the way we used to eat back in the day, and I'm talking hundreds of years ago, even 100 years plus ago, before food was in abundance, before things like supermarkets and things like that existed. This is how we evolved to eat. We'd spend all day working, we'd spend all day doing what we need to do to get things done, to essentially provide the food, and then at the end of the day would eat. Now, we are in a good position in the sense that we can devote more time to our nutrition. We can have food readily available. So we can maximize the best of both worlds, where we have the convenience, but also we have the opportunity to use prehistoric and more history-based science, and that is, tied with modern science altogether, to essentially have this system in place where we use time-based eating periods. And so here's an example for you now. So imagine this. So imagine 14 to 16 hours where you don't eat a thing. And during that time, all your body does is it burns fat throughout that whole period, okay? Because we're regulating our hormones. And then because of this, we have an 8 to 10 hour eating window. Now, if you're a woman, you want to be more around the sort of 14 hours point where you are spending 14 hours without eating. And don't worry, because don't feel like you're going to be hungry in this, because you really won't. Trust me, when you get into it, you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, and then once you come out of that 14 hours, you then have a 10-hour eating window. Let's say you're a man. If you're a man, you'd have a 16-hour fasting window, and then you'd have an 8-hour eating window. Why the difference? Because with women, the hormone differences are too extreme. And at the start, women can get severe hunger signals. This is one of the reasons why women can also struggle so much with losing weight in the first place. It's because the hunger signal is so bad. The needs are there, the cravings are there. Essentially, your body is so desperate to have body fat stored on it so that you can be in the best possible state to be able to birth a child. So that's the reason why there's a difference between the two. So from there, like I mentioned before, we have the hormone regulation. So with the time-based eating, we control the hormones that we have floating around our body a little bit more, which are going to make us feel the next couple of things. Okay, so it's going to make us feel more full. Okay, so satiety is increased. It's going to make us feel like that all of the time. So we don't have this need to be hungry and eating every 2 hours. We're going to have increased mental alertness. Okay, and there's various studies that tie into this that show that extended periods of fasting as opposed to eating regularly are going to increase your mental alertness. So if you're someone that gets drowsy throughout the day, or if it's someone that works in a high profile job, or just a job generally where you need to be thinking on your feet all the time, it's going to really help with that too. It's also going to increase your fat metabolism. Okay, so the way that your body essentially burns fat will be increased during this period because of the way that your hormones work throughout. You're going to have a better structure within which to eat, and it's also more sustainable. Why I say it's more sustainable? Well, for a lot of people, because they're so obsessed with things like making sure they have breakfast, etc., that it becomes their first immediate block. It becomes your first obstacle. And the moment you don't have your breakfast, you just feel like you fell off the wagon, you fell off the diet, you can't do it anymore, you just stop. So if we remove all of these objections and just have a solid 8 to 10 hour eating window, you know that when you get into that window, you just eat like crazy. And then outside of that, you will have zero need to want to eat, because frankly, you're going to be so full from the 8 to 10 hours. It also creates a huge amount of simplicity as well, because you know that you have this whole time period where you can just eat, and I'm going to show you exactly what to eat in that time. And then you've also got all these other health benefits too. So things like reduced stress levels. Okay, so with all of these, you're going to have reduced stress levels. Because as well, you're going to be losing weight. If you're someone who has pre-existing medical conditions, or if you're on the verge of having them, it's going to help in reversing that. Okay, now eating in this style hasn't been peer reviewed, but it has been reviewed and studied to show that it has reverse effects on type 2 diabetes as well, and bring type 1 under control. So these are just some of the basic examples and health benefits of eating with the time-based eating periods, using the bigger portion style, so essentially the fast and feast windows. And all of this is going to produce one happy you, which is awesome. Who wouldn't want to be happier? Who wouldn't want to have more time where they can focus on their family and friends and their kids and focus on their work? Less time thinking about spending every 2 to 3 hours, oh, what am I going to eat next? What's the right thing to eat? More energy, more mental alertness, knowing that whenever you're spending that time in that fasted period, that you are going to constantly be burning fat. You're constantly going to be working towards your goals. You're going to be dropping inches week after week, and you're going to be the best version of yourself. You're going to feel amazing. Trust me, you'll feel amazing. So, in order to understand how the simple nutrition system works, we have to understand the fact that we are going to be using portions, okay? So we're not necessarily going to be calorie counting the whole way, although you definitely can do. That's going to massively assist you with this, and I would recommend that if you're prepared to put in the extra time, which you should be, okay? But if you're going to do the bare minimum and follow this as simple as physically possible and go super simple into the super simple nutrition system, here's the portions that you need to know. So you'll see on the screen here, you've got vegetables, starchy carbohydrates, so things like rice, pasta, bread, etc. You've got your protein sources. This could be both vegetarian and also animal-based protein sources as well. So don't think that it's just limited to meat, but it could be any primary protein source. Okay, things like peanuts don't count for this. Okay, they're more of a fat source. Then you have your fruits. Again, you got that fist portion there, and then finally you have that from the end knuckle of the thumb, and that'll be your portions for fats. Okay, in general, you have one portion of fat with every meal as we go through. Now, when we go into it, okay, there's a couple of options here just to give you some ideas of how it runs. So if you are someone who doesn't like breakfast, then that's perfect. I'm someone who does not like breakfast. I will have it occasionally, just, if I fancy it, but generally, I don't like breakfast. So what I do is I put my eating window, okay, to my 8 hours because I'm male. That'll go towards the latter part of the day. And so from 8 till 2 p.m., what I would recommend that you do is only have water and black coffee and tea. No milk, no sugar, no sweetener or anything like that. No fizzy drinks. Okay, keep things super simple to keep that insulin level as low and as stable as physically possible. So you're just chilling and maximizing the fat burning process during this time, okay? You don't want to be messing around with, oh, but can I have this or can I have that? Let me just put it black and white for you. If you keep to this is going to produce some results which you're going to see very shortly. Next, once it gets to 2 o'clock, the first thing we need to do is we need to wake our digestive system up. So as much as some people might think, yeah, well, I've not ate for a couple of hours before 2 o'clock, so I'm going to have a massive meal. It's not going to serve your digestive system that well if you have a big meal, okay? So you really want to have a pretty small meal, so a couple of portions of lean protein and then 1 or 2 portions of fruit. And then that's where you're going to have your scientifically backed super health improving supplements, okay? So your omega-3 capsules, your multivitamins, and then 2.5 to 5,000 IU of vitamin D as well. If you want to learn more on these, just watch the video on supplements and I'll cover all of this and things not to take as well. Then at around about sort of 4 or 5 o'clock, I would recommend that you have a larger meal, which you can also mimic at the same time at night. So you'll see on the screen here, you've got sort of 2-3 portions of vegetables, a couple of portions of lean protein, and then a portion of starchy carbs. So you'll repeat that same meal or a variation of that meal twice in the day. Okay, this is really going to fill you up and give you all that energy for the next day. Then at about 9:30, you want to have your last meal, and imagine this as you just tucking your digestive system up, ready to go back to sleep, so that you can just focus on the fat burning aspect and not be super full and sluggish. Okay, so all this meal is just winding down your digestive system by having a small bit of protein and a little bit of starchy carbohydrates, and that's it. Okay, so if you're someone who doesn't tend to snack at night and you prefer to have breakfast and eat earlier in the day, but when it gets later into the evening you're not too fussed about eating super late, then you can eat this way. So let's say, for example, you woke up, so then at 8 o'clock you'd have a couple of portions of lean protein and a couple of portions of fruit, just like we did before. Exactly the same layout with the meal plan here on either days. Okay, so 10-ish, it could be 11. Think of there being an element of flexibility here. Okay, you can eat these meals whenever you want. So you have a couple of portions of veg, a couple of portions of protein, and a portion of starchy carbs. Repeat a similar meal later on in the day, and then around about 4 o'clock. Okay, so this 12 o'clock meal could be pushed further back. You can put them wherever you want. You could even have 3 meals if you want. You don't have to do 4 meals. I'm just giving you an example. Just keep it simple. Make sure you eat enough throughout the day and you're all good. Then at 4 o'clock, okay, so your last meals are doing that little digestive tuck-in. Okay, you want to have a portion of protein, portion of starchy carbs, and that'll get you ready. And then for the evening, okay, so from 4 onwards, going through into the next morning, it's just back to the water, okay? So any fizzy drinks, things like Diet Pop, etc., then have them obviously from 8 through till 4 p.m., okay? And that's when it's going to serve you best. Now, with this, I do want to mention a couple of things here, okay? So, rapid weight loss is definitely likely to occur, and I'm going to give you some examples very shortly, okay? So if you stick to this system, within 1 or 2 weeks, okay, you're going to see some massive results, and it's not unsustainable in the sense that you can't do it forever. It won't be these results, week after week, but it'll give you a massive positive kickstarter and make you have that confidence in the system. Things will slow down, your digestive system will ease off, But if you continue on with it longer term, okay, you'll really start making some massive differences, and it honestly is a game changer. Next of all, okay, so in the first week you can get pretty hungry. For men, sometimes, but for women it can be a little bit more. It comes down to the hormones, okay? Women don't like being hungry psychologically, and from an evolutionary standpoint, women just don't get on well with being hungry, okay? Because a woman's purpose is to be able to bear a child. And so your hormones can be quick to jump on the, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat. Just remember, okay, when it comes to your nutrition, you can last 3 weeks without food. So don't think that lasting a couple of hours is going to be unsustainable. You're not going to pass out. You're not going to die if you don't have a bit of food for a couple of hours. I'm not telling you to starve. I'm just saying you need to understand that eating window is where you serve your purpose with the food, okay? That's when you can really enjoy yourself by having these big meals. And then last of all, energy levels are going to massively increase, okay? You're going to be a different person. 1-2 weeks in, tops, you're just going to be, sky high energy levels. You're not going to have issues with your sleep. Your hormones are going to be in better balance. You're just going to feel like a totally different person. You're never going to get sluggish or anything like that. You're just going to be, a powerful person, ready to serve your family and friends and your loved ones, ready to do what you need to do at work, and ultimately be the best version of yourself. So here's a couple of quick examples of what you can expect to sort of achieve. So in this first one here, so I was speaking with her and she was just sort of chatting with us. So over the 3-week period, she lost 16 pounds. Okay, so 1 stone, 2 pounds, not bad. Most people, would like to get 8 pounds in a month, so it's definitely achievable. And she's not an exception. Okay, here's another example here. So she's asking how much weight she's lost here, and you can obviously see through. She's lost 13 pounds in a week. Okay, this isn't because there's any secret sauce or anything super special going on. It's just a little bit of digestive cleansing. It's a little bit of understanding that if your body's given the right foods for the right amount of time, it's really going to do what it needs to do to make you look and feel better. Okay, so this system's a proven system. So absolutely, the moment that you decide that you're going to put that hammer down and commit, okay, which should be from day one, you should be straight on this. Go back through this training again. Look at what you need to get. Just go and buy all the things that you need, prepare any meals that you need to prepare in advance, and then you're all good to go. Super, super simple. And that is the simple nutrition system. So the only last thing that I can really say from here is enjoy. And I'll speak to you very soon.